Air Transat is being forced to take some responsibility for what went on. They did everything they could after our delay to not take any responsibility, to deflect responsibility to every other party involved.
Today, the Canadian Transportation Agency concluded Air Transat failed, that there was no reason to justify the lack of snacks and drinks. As for letting the passengers off the plane, the CTA says there's no evidence either pilot actively considered it another failure. It ordered Air Transat to train employees better, especially those who handle onboard delays. The airline must compensate all the passengers for out-of-pocket expenses. And the CTA fined Air Transat nearly $300,000, which it said it will waive if the airline divides that sum between the passengers instead. That's $500 each. It was the ordeal and outrage of the passengers that put this story in the headlines. And our Catherine Cullen spoke with some of them today about their reaction to this decision.
We're people. We need to be treated like people. We're not baggage.
Years as a mechanic have left Alan Abraham with serious back problems. So when a 9-hour flight from Rome stretched into a 14-hour ordeal, he was suffering.
The pain in my back was something else. Like, it was getting really bad and there was no relief.
2 planes were stuck on the tarmac. Inside both, it was growing increasingly hot.
No water. We're going to die here.
On Abraham's plane, a young boy vomited 2 rows behind him.
They need to provide training for their staff so that things like this may not happen again.
He's happy that an emphasis on training was part of today's decision, but says there's more to be done.
I honestly believe that they should be refunding all passengers' plane tickets in full, whatever the cost may be.
During the inquiry, Air Transat said it kept being told planes would be refueled in 15 to 30 minutes and that letting people off would have been complicated and expensive.
Can you find 360 hotel rooms inside of a couple of minutes? I don't think so. It's a logistical challenge.
In a statement today, Air Transat reiterated its sincere apologies and said it will offer $500 to each passenger.
So I'm at the Air Canada lounge right now at the Montreal airport, waiting for my flight.
Pascal Dedecker was on the flight from Brussels with his daughter, who was 10 at the time. He says she fainted when she finally got off the plane and into the Montreal airport. He says today's decision doesn't go far enough.
I would say that I'm not satisfied. And I think 4 hours in the plane is still a lot of time before you can get out of the plane.
Abraham says some passengers are still exploring their legal options.
Have you gotten on a plane since?
No.
Any plans?
Yes, but not Air Transat.
Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
The government has been working on a passenger bill of rights, and the Minister of Transport said today's ruling would not have been needed if those rights were already in place.
So that the tarmac delay after 3 hours, all the passengers have the right to be deplaned, and that every 30 minutes they have to get an information update, that they're provided with climate control, that they're provided with water and things like that.
Well, David Common has been looking into this proposed Bill of Rights, and here is the really interesting thing. The current rules that exist now under something called the tariff actually lead to better rights than this new passenger Bill of Rights.
Yeah, absolutely. So take Air Transat or Air Canada or WestJet. Right now, their tariff, their own rules say after 90 minutes, they'll give passengers stuck on the tarmac the opportunity to get off if it's safe and practical to do so. But the new rules coming in take that 90 minutes, double it up to 3 hours that you have to be stuck on the plane before they'll give you the option to get off. And Ian, for many advocates looking at this, they think it is another example of where the new passenger Bill of Rights gives more rights to airlines than passengers. What's your biggest beef when flying?
Delays. Been delayed a lot.
Check out any airport.
Lost luggage.
Lost luggage.
Lost luggage.
And you'll hear about it.
You ever get flight delays?
Yes, about 40% of the time.
40% of the time.
Chris Conrad faced a big delay.
We sat there for a while, and then they taxied out a bit, and then they taxied back again.
Her vacation to Europe was delayed by 22 hours.
03, standby 1.
It all started, she says, when the Air Canada plane had a mechanical problem.
Roger, Kilo, check that.
And even the replacement didn't work.
They robbed me of an entire day of my vacation. I didn't sleep for 48 hours. I think they owe me at least half of my airfare back.
She asked, but the airline said no, instead offering her a small discount off a future flight.
It's like a slap in the face, really. You know, it's like they don't care.
Under the current rules, Chris is not entitled to compensation. New rules, though, are coming, but they still would not see any money being given back to her.
Under new bill, she would not get compensation either. The bill exonerates airlines from the obligation to compensate passengers when the delay is caused by mechanical issues.
At issue is the cause. While airlines are responsible for maintaining their planes, if they break, they are not responsible for compensating delayed passengers. Indeed, had Chris been flying the other way from Europe to Canada, European rules would have required compensation, often hundreds of dollars.
It has been the rule in Europe, and I don't see why it should be any different in Canada.
The new rules may require airlines to provide hotel rooms, taxis, and meals, but not money.
Well, we've decided that we don't want to put that kind of imposition on the airline. We certainly don't want them to sort of, in a marginal situation where something isn't working perfectly, and decide to fly anyway.
In Europe, they don't have to choose between safety and compensation. They get both.
We're putting together our own Bill of Rights. I think you're going to see that we have a world-leading class or category of compensations.
The bill may be better in many areas, but for Chris Conrad, even under the new rules, she'd get no money back. If her flight, though, had been leaving from Europe, it would have been $900. David Coleman, CBC News, Toronto.